Hey, Dr. Bryce Lee with Strength Space, and this is another frequently asked question we get, which is, what about power or explosiveness? We do a slower approach to strength training where we move the weight with controlled cadences at Strength Space. And so the question is, well, isn't this going to make me slow? One, and are we missing some benefits to power training? First, the question about making us slower. So for example, with athletes, is this going to make an athlete slower? I think the answer clearly and conclusively is no. First of all, how fast we move, how fast and how much force we can produce in an activity is a function of how thick our muscles are, which means how many muscle fibers and how big those muscle fibers are in them. Those are the force-producing units that we have. And then, do our tendons have the conditioning to be able to transduce those forces to the bones? And then finally, does our nervous system have the coordination to be able to time everything just right so that we can recruit the right muscle fibers at the right moment? The first two pieces of that, any strength training approach which improves the thickness and strength of the muscles and tendons is going to maximize our benefits there. The third piece is the coordination issue, and that really has to do with skill. If we are highly skilled at a movement, we can do that movement faster. Swinging a golf club, throwing a pitch, doing a judo throw on an opponent, all of those things require practice and timing to master. And training your muscles slowly in a gym scenario is not going to make you slower at those tasks if you practice those tasks at your competitive speed that you would for your sport. We actually know this is true because there's a great study that looked at three groups of people. One group trained explosively with Olympic weightlifts, which are the snatch and the clean and jerk, weights where your exercises where you're taking a heavy barbell and bringing it over your head explosively. Another group did conventional strength training, bench pressing, squatting, lifting weight from the floor, but they did so with an explosive tempo. And the third group used strength training on a machine where no matter how hard they pushed, the machine moved slowly, but they generated the most effort they possibly could to push as fast as they could. But the actual speed was fixed at a slow cadence. And what we found in that study is that the third group, the group that was pushing as hard as they could but training slowly, actually saw the biggest improvements in sprint speed and jumping. And so that undermines and dispels the idea that if you train slow in the gym, it's going to make you slow in day-to-day life or in your sport. The reality is that so long as you condition your muscle tissue to be strong and then practice the tasks that you need to be fast at, you can still be fast at those tasks. When we think on the other end of the continuum, away from athletes and now to older adults, we hear a lot about how power is important for older adults because if they need to prevent a fall or recover from a trip, they need to quickly move their leg into position to prevent that fall. And the main driver, one of the primary determinants of whether they can generate power is, can they generate force? You can't generate power if you can't generate force. Power is force over distance divided by time. And so what we need in order to generate force is strong muscle tissue. Any intervention that improves muscle tissue cross-sectional area and thickness is going to improve our body's ability to generate force. And so it's unlikely that the safe, slow, controlled approach to strength training that we employ here at Strength Space is going to make us slower and not powerful. But what I would say is that we always want to factor in the risk versus reward of any exercise. Is it possible that doing more explosive training might confer an advantage in power production? It's possible, but there's a possibility that the explosiveness we're developing in that exercise would be specific to the exercise because, again, there's a skill component. Instead, is it also possible that building strength and a stronger, more robust body will make us more powerful at everything? I would say the odds are good for that. But even if there is an advantage to the more explosive approach to training, I would say the risks often don't make it worthwhile for us. We always want to think about exercise as a risk-reward calculation. And even if there might be a slight edge in doing explosive training, the risks often aren't justified. If we maintain a good amount of strength and muscle tissue density from strength training, we can be confident that our bodies have the best odds of preventing falls, of avoiding trips. And so that's why we use a full body approach to strength training that maintains good muscularity throughout our body. We focus on on high effort training so that we make sure we're recruiting the strongest muscle fibers. And our goal is always to get to a point where we're pushing as hard as we possibly can, because from that study with the machine, we understand that it's the intent to move as quickly as you can, even if you're too fatigued to go fast, even if you're fatigued. It's the intent that really turns on those fast twitch muscle fibers and preserves our ability to generate sudden forces. So again, I'm Dr. Bryce Lee with Strength Space. I hope this is edifying for you to think about it in another way. It might not be necessary to train explosively to maintain our body's ability to produce power that can keep us safe from an injury or even promote our ability to perform well athletically. Thanks again for your attention, and please tune in for more frequently asked question videos.